Are the Pittsburgh Steelers being cheap? Well, they have the smallest coaching staff in the entire NFL. So, for years, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they've been criticized for not employing many coaches on the roster. They prefer to have a very traditional kind of one coach per position group type of mentality, type of model. And in previous studies, the Steelers had among the smallest coaching staffs in football, but not the tiniest. Until 2024, things have changed. Now it's the smallest coaching staff in the entire NFL. So, before I get more into it, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news and updates. Also, like the video. Now, let's get right back into it. So, the Pittsburgh Steelers, like I said, for years have had one of the tiniest coaching staffs in the entire league. And they've been criticized for it. Not paying coaches and not just kind of having that coaching tree from Mike Tomlin. It's usually just been Mike Tomlin and then just some random coaches thrown in there on like the minimum. Well, once again this season, it seems like the Pittsburgh Steelers are going with that mentality, but it's even worse this season. At least the last two seasons in 2022 and 2023, Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots had the smallest coaching staff in the NFL. But since Jerod Mayo has replaced Bill Belichick as the head coach, the Patriots have now turned to like a modern day coaching staff and increased their staff from 18 coaches last season to 25. Well, the Pittsburgh staff has not changed significantly in terms of the number of coaches they have. They've kind of overdone and overhauled their coaching staff, signing new coordinators, signing new coaches at specific positions. Like, for example, new offense coordinator, wide receivers coach, quarterbacks coach, and etc. But their total is still the same. Just because they switched the coaches at each of those staff positions, they still have the smallest or one of the smallest coaching staffs in the NFL over the last few seasons. So over the last couple seasons, they've had like the second tiniest coaching staff, but now this season, since the Patriots have now increased their staff, the Steelers are at the lowest with the 19 total coaches, which is last in football. So that's why the question is, are the Pittsburgh Steelers being cheap and is it hurting them? Just to put it into some perspective for you, looking at the total coaches, the average in the NFL for total coaches on a coaching staff is 23.7, with the highest being the Miami Dolphins at 27, and then the lowest being the Pittsburgh Steelers at 19. And then you look at offensive coaches, just into the specific area of offensive coaches, the league average is 11.4. And the highest, once again, is the Miami Dolphins at 13. And the lowest, once again, is the Pittsburgh Steelers at 10. So once again, below average. And then you look at defensive coaches. The average in the NFL for defensive coaches on a coaching staff is 9. And the highest is 11 with the Miami Dolphins. And the lowest is the Pittsburgh Steelers once again at 7. So 2 below the league average. And then you look at the special teams coaches, and the league average per team is 2.3. The Pittsburgh Steelers being the lowest at 1 coach on special teams, and also the Las Vegas Raiders being the highest with 3. So you look at this and you're seeing it. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, based off the league average at each position coach, from offense, defense to special teams, just overall in general, are always below average. And this season, they are way below average compared to the rest of the NFL. And the thing why this is disappointing and why the question is the Pittsburgh Steelers being cheap, is because you look at the problem recently for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they have the smallest offensive coaching staff in the league. And the big thing is their offense has been really bad. So you would think that maybe they would upgrade their offensive coaching staff to be able to get the players to play and be able to create a scheme that could be great on offense. But the last few years, the Steelers being one of the lowest paid and lowest coached offensive staffs in the league, it just doesn't make sense because you would think they would be upgraded with all the concern on the offense side of the ball. Well, no, it doesn't seem like a big difference is being made. Yes, they replaced the offense coordinator with from Matt Canada to Arthur Smith now, and you expect a huge jump, but you expect assistants to also be able to help. You look at some of the best coaching staffs in the league, like the Miami Dolphins, for example. They have an offensive head coach in Mike Daniels. He's the play caller and everything, but they still had the highest offensive coaching staff in the league in terms of coaches. So he has a lot of people helping him. But the Steelers have one of the worst offenses, but also have the least amount of coaches on the offense side of the ball. So that really doesn't really correspond greatly there. And that's why the concern comes into question. Is the Steelers really investing that much into their coaching staff, or are they just giving it all to Mike Tomlin and expecting him to do everything, offense, defense, special teams, and just outcoach every other coach? They're not really investing that much in the assistants and is putting it all on the main guys, which is a big concern in my eyes personally, based off the coaching that has taken place over the last few seasons, especially on the offensive side of the ball. When you look at the defense side of the ball, okay, it makes a little bit more sense because, hey, Mike Tomlin is a defensive-minded head coach, and hey, we have a defense coordinator also in Terrell Austin, and then in the past you had the Brian Flores overseeing the defense. So it made sense to have a shorter defensive-sided coaching staff. But now, looking at the Steelers, they have the highest paid defense in the entire NFL, and on top of that, they have more defensive coaches than offensive coaches. So it seems as though the Steelers are just investing so much into the defense based off money and coaches that it really doesn't make sense why they're not balancing out as much. Yes, you can invest a lot in defense because you think defense is going to win you more games and things like that, sure. And they have a lot of guys to pay in TJ Watt, Macus Patrick, who is superstars like that. So it makes sense that you're paying more to the players on the defense staff. But you would think that you would have more offensive coaches than defensive coaches based off the way that the NFL is going now. Well, no, the Steelers have more defensive. And just in general, just not taking it and looking at it from that perspective anymore. Just looking at it based off of numbers. Is there any correlation from a winning perspective? Looking at 2023, last season for example, the bottom 7 teams with 21 or fewer coaches went to combined 54 and 65. That's a 45.4 winning percentage. And 2 of the 7 teams, the Bills and the Steelers, made the playoffs. So that is not a good number. With only 2 teams making the playoffs out of those 7, it seems as though if you have fewer coaches, your record is going to be worse. Obviously, that did not translate to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but just looking at football in general, usually that's where it translates to based off the winning percentage and the record of the teams. Obviously, the Steelers, they're different. They're a different outlier in the scenario alongside the Bills, but in general, that's what the numbers show. So, one last thing I want to add in here. Let's see this season if it is just directly contributed to, hey, the value of coach that you could get at each position based off the number of coaches. Is it truly based off the number of coaches you have? If you have more, then the better. Or is it how quality coaches you have? For example, yes, you can have Matt Canada, and you have many coaches surrounding Matt Canada. But if they're not good altogether, is your team really going to be better? But if you have a quality and a better coach, just saying Arthur Smith, will that help even more and then have fewer guys surrounding him? I want to see that translation. So let's see this season what it really means for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below based off of this topic of the Pittsburgh Steelers once again having one of the tiniest coaching staffs in the entire NFL for a few years in a row, but this season now having the smallest in the entire league, outtaking the Patriots. Do you believe the Pittsburgh Steelers should invest more on the offense side of the ball, especially with coaches, or do you believe that they should invest more just altogether in coaches in general, or do you think it just doesn't matter? And we have Mike Tomlin, so be it. Our record has been good, just leave it at that. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And also, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news and updates. I covered everything this offseason, and will continue to cover everything this offseason with training camp coming up, with highlights and analysis and everything like that. So make sure you stay in tune with the channel, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all later. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.